Hi, I'm Dustin Abbott, and I'm here for the second annual DA Awards, the time of year where I look back over the reviews I have done throughout the year, and I look over what kind of stands out to me, the reviews that of products that I feel have been exceptional and the things that have stood out in various categories that we'll get to here today. As I looked back over the various reviews that I did 108 reviews over the course of the year. As I look back over the course of the year, I'm looking at a number of different categories. And so we're going to give out awards in these various categories, and that includes camera. There's about 8 different camera reviews that I did. Zoom lenses, of which I did 12 or 13 in a variety of different platforms. Then we'll look at budget APS-C primes. And when I define budget as being $600 or less, then we'll also look at full frame budget primes, again, with that under $600 category. We'll also give awards for premium prime lenses, and that is defined as being over $600. And so that can include APS-C, full frame, or medium format, anything that's in the premium category. So let's jump into the awards for the year. Our first category is the Camera of the Year. Our runner-up this year is Fujifilm's GFX 100S Mark II, which really brought medium format into the truly budget category, where it's affordable even for those that typically might buy full frame. My winner, however, even though it's not new this year, it was new to me, and also I believe that it has become a more competitive camera through the process of firmware updates, and that is Nikon's Z8. This is a camera that I have really thoroughly enjoyed. It is just good at so many things, and really for the money, I think is one of the best value cameras on the market. I also appreciate the fact that as Nikon has opened up to third-party lenses, they've done so without really any kind of restriction. So what I'm finding is that a lot of these lenses that I've previously tested on Sony, for example, actually like better on Nikon because I'm able to get full burst speeds, and also stabilization seems to work a little bit better. They just seem to work a little bit more natively in general. So I'm loving the camera, and I give high marks to that. Our second category that we're going to award in is the Zoom Lens of the Year. I actually have a few honorable mentions that I want to mention here. One is Sigma's 28 to 45 millimeter f1.8. While it is somewhat of a niche lens, I also think that it shows that Sigma continues to try to push the boundaries and to offer up options that are not run-of-the-mill, and they are very unique. I also noted that Tamron's 50 to 300 millimeter VC lens is just a really well executed lens, very optically sound, very high performing, did a great job. However, our runner-up this year goes to Sigma's 28 to 105 millimeter f2.8 Art Series lens. Now, I recognize that such a lens has previously existed on the Canon front before, but Sigma did something quite similar at a much lower price point, and also much lighter and smaller as well. However, the 2024 DA Award goes to the Sony 28 to 70 millimeter f2 GM. It is just an amazingly good lens, and they managed to do a lens that is just so consistent optically all throughout the zoom range. Very high performing, but it's not a soulless lens. I felt like the rendering was still quite good from it, and so I want to give the award this year to that really unique lens. Our third category is in the budget APS-C prime lens, under $600. The runner-up this year is Yongnuo's 33 millimeter f1.4 Pro. I came into 2024 not necessarily with an overall positive view of Yongnuo. Some of the early lenses that I saw from them tended to just be kind of clones, cheap clones, knockoffs of existing optical formulas from Canon, for example. But Yongnuo has really started to chart their own course, and this particular series that they call the Commander series that this lens is from are lenses that are just really good. They are very feature rich, they have some unique design elements to them, and they're really strong performing lenses while still at very much a budget price. My winner, however, this year goes to the Viltrox AF 35 millimeter f1.7. This is a lens whose review I actually haven't released at the time that I'm filming this video, but will have been released by the time that this video goes public. And this is the most recent of their Air series lens. And I really feel like Viltrox is nailing it with their Air series, creating lenses that are inexpensive, lightweight, which is what the whole Air is about, but also just really good lenses. And this is a surprisingly good lens that I think is really competitive. Even with, I happen to review it on Fuji, I think that it does a pretty decent job of giving the much more expensive Fuji 35mm f1.4 a run for the money. And so kudos to them for continuing to really push the envelope and develop a lot of really excellent lenses. And so they get the award this year. Our fourth category is budget full frame prime lenses. And so to get a good full frame lens for under $600 is, it's not necessarily a common thing, but we are seeing more and more excellent lenses coming in this category. So I want to acknowledge a couple of runner-ups. The first is the Sirui Aurora 85mm f1.4. It's got a lot of attention, and I think deservedly so, because it's a full-frame 85mm f1.4 prime that you can get for under $500 right now. And that's pretty fantastic. But there's also another really inexpensive 85mm lens that I want to acknowledge, and that's the TTArtisan AF 85mm f1.8. This is a lens that can be had for around $200, but is surprisingly good optically, is quite nicely built. It just performs really quite well, and so definitely worth acknowledging. My winner, however, actually goes to a first-party lens, and in this case, it's the Nikkor Z 50mm f1.4. And the reason why it wins the award is that it just does everything quite well, and it is a 50mm f1.4 from one of the first-party brands that can be had for under $500. That is so rare these days, and I want to acknowledge Nikon in doing this and releasing a lens that I think is desirable on its own right, but it is also affordable. So kudos to them. Our fifth category is in the premium prime lens category. And again, I got a few runner-ups that I want to acknowledge. It's actually a pair of 500mm lenses. One is the Sigma 500mm f5.6 Sport, which is basically the type of lens that a lot of us say that we want. And while the price was a little more expensive than what I had hoped for a lens like that, it is a really high-performing lens. And if you're looking for a 500mm prime on either E mount or L mount, it really is a very impressive lens. The other is the Fujinon GF 500mm f5.6. That lens is very good optically, and while I'm not convinced that the GFX platform is quite there in terms of autofocus to really make a lens like that sing, I really have to appreciate Fuji pushing out medium format into areas that have kind of previously been uncharted before. And if they really want to make that platform an alternative to full frame, I think lenses like this are required, and it happens to be a really nice lens as well. My winner, however, goes to this lens right here, which is the Viltrox Lab 135mm f1.8. I have been looking forward to the Lab series arriving. Viltrox kind of released the roadmap and let us know that the Lab series was coming. But Viltrox has been doing such a good job in lens designs, and the idea that this was going to be kind of their premium lineup came with a lot of expectations, and this is a lens I think that has realized those. It is extremely feature rich, it is optically amazing, and the fact that it is so good optically and comes at a price tag of around $800 is pretty exceptional, and it's going to compete and does compete with lenses that cost much more than it and does so very effectively. So I also like to award the company that I feel like had the best year, and as I look back over the year and the various releases that were there, I want to give this year's award to the company Sigma. I think that Sigma kind of did the most this year. They had creative zooms, including the 28-105 f2.8, the 28-45mm f1.8. They had great primes like the 50mm f1.2, the 15mm f1.4 fisheye lens, and also they were the first to bring third-party lenses to Canon RFS, which is great. And so I want to award them. I also want to say bravo to all the companies that dipped their toes into autofocus this year. Laowa, 7Artisans, TTArtisans. They really are kind of advancing the ball, and so congratulations to them. How about the lens that most surprised me? This year, that lens goes to the Nikkor Z 50mm f1.4. Not because a 50mm f1.4 is a unique or surprising lens, but rather that this lens was released by a first-party company to where they went ahead and released a lens that is competitively priced and really has enough going on in all the different departments to be desirable on its own merit. It's not a lens I would have been surprised by 10 years ago, but it's a lens that I am surprised by here today, particularly when there are so many first-party lenses that are coming that are just always priced so high. This is a good lens that people can actually afford, so that's a surprise. My most disappointing lens of the year, and I really hate this to be the case because I was anticipating it, but it is Canon's RF 35mm f1.4 VCM lens. There are things about the lens that I really like. It's got great autofocus, it's very sharp, but it also has a tremendous amount of distortion. It has some design flaws or design choices that I just don't think make a lot of sense. And for a lens that costs as much as what it does, I was just somewhat disappointed by it, even though I think it's a very good lens, and if you've bought it, I hope that you're enjoying it. As I look back at what was my most popular review of 2024, that award goes to a video called A Three-Way Comparison between the Fuji standard zooms, including the Sigma 18 to 15mm, Fuji 16 to 55mm f2.8, and Fuji 18 to 55mm f2.8 to f4 IS. Shows that there still is some legs on the Fuji platform, and people are definitely interested in that. What was my least popular review of 2024? It was for the Aero Zoom acoustic wedge tiles, and I released that video towards the beginning of 2024, and it got only 756 views for the entire year, and it netted me -6 subscribers. I didn't gain subscribers, I lost subscribers over that review, so you won an award as well. I did add something this year as well, and that was the Reader's Choice Award. I've done polls on YouTube over the last several weeks, and so when I gave you the option in 3 different categories, you came back with the top camera of the ones that I had reviewed as the Sony a7CR, and that was by a whisker over the Nikon Z8. In the top zoom lens, the award went to the Sony 28 to 70mm f2, and that was over the next competing lens was the Sigma 28 to 105 f2.8. The best prime lens actually lined up with what I gave the award to, and it was the Viltrox Lab 135mm f1.8, but only by 1% over Sony's 85mm f1.4 GM2. A lens that was really excellent, but in my mind, it was incredible in some areas and not mind-blowing in others. And so that was very closely your favorite as well. And so there you have it. That is the 2024 awards. It's been a great year of doing reviews, and I thank you for being a great audience. So many interesting things that I've had the opportunity to cover this year, and I hope that it's been a great photography year for you as well. Here's looking ahead to 2025, hoping that the best is yet to come. I'm Dustin Abbott. As always, thanks for watching. Have a great day, and let the light in.